Welcome back, students. Welcome to the class. Today we will going to discuss the halogen family, that is the group 17. So, what are the various elements of this group now? We have to going to discuss that. Okay, the first one is fluorine, then chlorine, bromine, iodine, and then acetylene. So, acetylene is radioactive in nature. Fluorine, chlorine, bromine, and iodine, all of them exist in the molecular form, that is X2. Okay, so fluorine exists as F2, chlorine exists as Cl2, bromine exists as Br2, and iodine as I2. Okay, sure about that? Now, if you're going by the configuration, fluorine has how many? Fluorine has 9 electrons in its valence shell. So helium stands for 1s2. So outermost configuration is ns2 np5. What is that? ns2 np5. I am repeating once more to you. The outermost configuration is ns2 np5 in case of what? In case of noble gases. In case of what? In case of noble gases. Are you getting that or not? So this is what? This is 2s2 2p5. In case of chlorine, it is 3s2 3p5. In case of bromine, it is 4s2 4p5. In case of iodine, it is 5s2 5p5. Are you sure about that? So the group number is same for all of them. Astatine is radioactive in nature, so we usually don't consider the various chemical properties exhibited by the astatine in this group. We only deal with the chemical properties. So period is second, for second period fluorine, for third period that is chlorine, for fourth period that is bromine, and for fifth period that is iodine, and astatine for the group 6th. And all of them have valence shell configuration ns2 np5. So please memorize that. That is very, very important. Now if we look at the configuration of these elements once more, you can easily see that in case of fluorine, that is helium 1s2, so it is 2s2 2p5. This 2s2 2p5 is the valence shell configuration. Similarly for chlorine, that is 3s2 3p5. For bromine, it is 4s2 4p5. For iodine, it is 5s2 5p5. And for astatine, it is 6s2 6p5. So these are the various configuration of the various elements. Okay, are you sure about that? Clearly understood now? So you have to understood that very, very well. Now look at that halogens once more. The electronic configuration of the halogens all have one electron less than that of the next noble gas. Fluorine has, the next noble gas is what? It is neon. Chlorine, the next noble gas is argon. For bromine, the next noble gas is xenon. Okay, so these is, sorry, not krypton, that is the next noble gas is krypton. For iodine, the next noble gas is xenon, and in that case it is radon. So all of these halogens have one electron less than the next noble gas. So in their reaction with the metals, they tend to gain an electron and attain the electronic configuration of the next noble gas. So their ions are in -1 form, like very well known fluoride, chloride, bromide, and iodide. In their reaction with the non-metals, they tend to share electrons with the other non-metals. So they forms, or they want to complete the octet by forming various molecules. So with their non-metals, they are able to form covalent compounds, and with the metals, they are ready to form ionic compound. So I am requesting you, to all of you, to please see the configuration of all these halogens very carefully, because the valence shell configuration will be the key to the properties of all these elements. So make sure that you write and read all this configuration 3 or 4 times. Okay, are you getting that or not? And so you may have the question on nowadays questions on the configuration also. Now let's move ahead and take a look at the characteristics electronic configuration of all the halogens. All halogens contain 7 electrons in their outermost shell. So all the other shells means the inner shells are completely filled. They have characteristics outer configuration of ns2 np5 as I already told you. The last electronic occupies p orbitals, hence they belongs to the p block elements. All orbit except that of the last orbit are completely filled, so they are normal metals. All halogens contain 7 electrons in their outermost shell, so they are popularly known as group 17 element, and that is just before the inert element. They are 7 electrons in their outermost shell, so they require only 1 electron to complete the octet. So due to that, you can say that halogen in most of the cases show monovalency. So all halogens have electronic configuration ns2 np5. They contain 7 electrons, so they need only 1 electron to complete their octet. So they form fluoride, chloride, bromide, iodide by sharing or by accepting electron from the metal, and they can share their unpaired electron with the another element to form covalent compound like Cl2, Br2, HCl, ClF3, BrF5, IF7 like that. Therefore, the common valency of the halogen atom is 1 and they are monovalent. But not in all the cases. In other cases, they can, because except fluorine, all other halogens, that is chlorine, okay, then you have bromine, and then you have iodine, they can easily expand their octet by using the d orbitals. I am repeating once more. Chlorine, bromine and iodine, they can usually expand their octet to form so many different compounds. So first of all, that look at the atomic radii. The atomic and ionic radii is the distance from the center of the nucleus to the outermost shell of the atom. Okay, so as we move down the group, the atomic size increases because of the addition of new quantum shells. So the atomic and ionic radius is the distance from the center of the nucleus to the outermost shell. From the fluorine to the iodine atom, the atomic radius increases. As we move down the group, the atomic radius increases from fluorine to iodine because of the addition of quantum shells. So atomic number and number of shells increases, effective nuclear charge decreases, screening effect increases. It is to be noted that every ion is larger in size than the corresponding atom. What do you mean by that? Fluoride ion is bigger in size than fluorine atom. Chloride ion bigger than that of chlorine atom. Bromide ion bigger than that of bromine atom. So all these things must be known to you. Are you okay with that? Very much. Now look at that ionization potential or ionization enthalpies. Okay. The energy required to remove outermost electron from the gaseous atom to an element when it is in ground state is called the ionization potential or the ionization enthalpy. I am repeating once more. The energy required to remove the outermost electron from the gaseous atom of an element when it is in ground state is called the ionization potential. Since atomic radii of the halogens are smallest, what do you mean by that? If you move left to right in first period, lithium is the first element, then you have beryllium, then you have boron, then you have carbon, then you have nitrogen, oxygen, and then fluorine. Similarly, if you go by the second element, if you see, it is first sodium, then it is magnesium, then it is aluminium, then it is silicon, then it is phosphorus, then it is sulfur, and then you have chlorine. So as you move left to right in the period, that is the third period I'm talking about, the atomic radius becomes smaller and smaller, because as you move left to right, the effective nuclear charge increases, and due to that, the electrons are under a very huge attraction from the nucleus, and due to that, what happens, the ionization potential are very high in them. Okay, and due to that, they have nearly no tendency to lose the electrons. It means what, although they can lose electron, but they show very less tendency. Among halogens, the ionization potential value decreases with the increase in the size of the atom. So if you move down the group, you can say that the ionization potential decreases due to the increase in the atomic size and decrease in the effective nuclear charge. So this is very, very important to you. So that is the case also in not only in halogens, in all the cases you observe that. Now fluorine has the highest electron ionization enthalpy. The ionization potential is the minimum energy required to remove the most loosely bound electron from the isolated atom. Now what happens in case of fluorine, it got the smallest size in the group. The last electron is in 2p orbital, which is nearer to the nucleus. So you can see that fluorine being what? Fluorine being small size and high charge, that is nuclear charge. Okay, it is very difficult to remove the electron. Therefore, the last electron is held very tightly by the nucleus. So among all the halogens, the fluorine got the highest value of electron ionization enthalpy. Now next we think about the electronegativity. The relative tendency of the bonded atom in a molecule to attract the shared pure electron towards itself. Now let us suppose the two different element of different electronegativities are there. That is, one is chlorine, other is hydrogen. So what happens? The bond pair electrons are closer to the chlorine, so it will get a delta negative charge. Similarly, if you have a bond between HF, what will happen? The electron density of the bond pair will be closer to the fluorine and very less towards hydrogen. So you can see that fluorine got the partial negative charge and hydrogen will get the partial positive charge. So among all the elements in the same period, halogen got the highest value of electronegativity due to the high nuclear charge and small atomic size. I am repeating once more. In their respective period, in second period you can say fluorine, third period chlorine, fourth period in the bromine, and in the fifth period, that is iodine. In all in their respective period, they have very, very large value, means they have the largest value in their respective period. And if we go down the group, means among the halogens, then you can say fluorine is the most electronegative and iodine is the you can say the least electronegative. Only oxygen and nitrogen are comparable to the halogens. Okay, nitrogen and chlorine have nearly the same value of electronegativity as given by the Pauling scale. Okay, so you can say that fluorine is the most electronegative element of the periodic table, and second best is oxygen, and then you have nitrogen and chlorine, both are equal value on the Pauling scale. The electronegativity and the non-metallic character both decreases as we move down the group. Now fluorine shows highest electronegativity because it got small atomic size and the last orbit is second nearest to the nucleus, and therefore the nuclear charge is very, very high. Therefore, the distance between the shared pair of electron and the nucleus of fluorine is very, very small, and it has the highest ability to attract the shared pair of electron towards itself. So its electronegativity is also highest. Are you getting that or not? I'm repeating once more. On Pauling, not only Pauling scale, actually the fluorine is the most electronegative element. So it is the tendency to attract shared pair of electron towards itself. Now, what is electron affinity? Electron affinity, moreover, is known as electron gain enthalpy also. So actually what happens, the electron gain enthalpy is equal to minus of electron affinity plus 5 by 2 RT. So you can say that electron gain enthalpy is negative of the electron affinity values. The only difference between them will be 5 by 2 RT. So since electron gain enthalpy is in kilojoules, so 5 by 2 RT value are not of high significance. Therefore, in most of cases, electron affinity and electron gain enthalpy, they are taken as same. But strictly speaking, there is a difference of 5 by 2 RT between the two values. But at lower temperature, the value can be neglected. Now, each halogen has highest electron affinity in their respective period. Okay, that in their period they have the highest values. Okay, and in their own family, the value decreases. But the only exception being that chlorine got the highest value of electron gain enthalpy. Okay, the various factors which can explain the values of electron gain enthalpies are that it increases with the increase in atomic size, it decreases with the effective nuclear charge, ability to attract electron decreases, and screening effect increases. Now, due to that, these four factors, I'm repeating once more, as we move down the group, atomic size increases, effective nuclear charge decreases, ability to attract electron decreases, and screening effect increases. The combination of these four factors makes that as we move down the group, the electron affinity values or electron gain enthalpy values, they decreases. Now, what is the cause that electron affinity value of fluorine is less than that of chlorine? The basic answer is actually crowding. That both in case of fluorine, the electron has to enter the 2p orbital, while in case of chlorine, it has to or in the 3p orbital. I am repeating once more. In case of chlorine, the incoming electron is coming in the 3p orbitals, while in case of fluorine, it is coming in the 2p orbitals. So fluorine got the extreme small atomic size, 2p subshell is compact. Okay, the maximum capacity of outermost electron is 8 only. So what can happen? So it means that due to the more electronic repulsion happen in fluorine, the value is a little bit more than less than that of the chlorine. I am repeating once more. In the case of fluorine, the incoming electron has to enter a smaller 2p subshell, while in case of chlorine, the 3p sublevel is comparatively larger in size. And due to that, what happens? And due to that, electronic repulsions are more in case of fluorine and lesser in case of chlorine. So due to that, fluorine got slightly less value than that of chlorine. It is not much large difference. I think the chlorine has a value of 350 around, and fluorine got the value of around 330. So the difference of only 20 kilojoule is occurring. Okay, but the difference is the difference. Okay, so you can say that chlorine got the highest value of electron affinity just by 20 kilojoule per mole. It is not far away from fluorine also. So both chlorine and fluorine got very large value of electron affinities. but fluorine got slightly less value than that of chlorine. The reason being that fluorine is extremely small in size and 2p sublevel is compact, and electronic repulsions are more in case of smaller 2p orbital in comparison to the bigger 3p orbitals. Next is about the bond dissociation enthalpy. That is very interesting point. Now, bond dissociation energy is defined as the energy required to break a particular bond into atoms. Now look at that, what I'm trying to say, that if you have two atoms XXX, then you will dissociate the bond and you will get two atoms of this type of energy is known as the bond dissociation enthalpy. Like if you have two atoms of fluorine and you got, after the dissociation, you got two atoms of, or you got one molecule of fluorine, and on heating you will get two atoms of fluorine, then this is called bond dissociation enthalpy. So in generally the bond dissociation enthalpy, it decreases down the group. As we move down the group, the bond dissociation enthalpy decreases. Okay, clear? Now in case of halogen, all of them are diatomic molecules in which the covalent bond is formed by the overlapping of the pp orbitals. Since atomic size increases from chlorine to iodine, bond length increases from chlorine to iodine. So as the bond length increases, bond dissociation energy decreases. So it is easier to dissociate a bond between iodine and slightly more difficult for in case of chlorine and chlorine. Why fluorine is kept out of that discussion? The reason being that although the bond length of fluorine is very small, but its bond dissociation enthalpy is not very large. Why? Because in case of fluorine, the bond length is very small, so lone pair are very close to each other. So there are three lone pair or one fluorine atom, and there is three lone pair on the other fluorine atom. So there is a due to the smaller bond length between the two fluorine atoms. Okay, what has happened? There is a tremendous lone pair repulsions occur in fluorine molecule. So you can say that in case of fluorine molecule, although the bond length is smallest, so the bond dissociation energy should be the largest one, but it is reverse. Due to the smaller bond length, the fluorine bond enthalpy becomes less. Why? Because of the lone pair repulsions. So bond dissociation energy is the energy required to break the bond between the atoms in a gaseous molecule. Bond dissociation energy of fluorine bond in F2 is less than that of chlorine. Okay, so fluorine got small atomic size. 2p subshell is compact and close to the nucleus. Due to the small atomic size, number of electrons are held in a very small volume, and there is a strong repulsion among the non-bonded electrons. What are those non-bonded electrons? I already told you, lone pair. What they are? Lone pair. Lone pair are non-bonded electrons, but they are non-bonded electrons. Hence bond becomes weak. Although bond is short, the bond becomes weak although the bond is very short. Due to this reason, bond dissociation enthalpy is less than that of halogen. Multiple bonding takes place in chlorine, bromine, iodine due to the presence of d orbitals, while such type of multiple bonding is absent in fluorine due to absence of d orbitals. Now repeating once more, multiple bonding does not happen. Okay, why? Because there is no d orbitals. Although chlorine, bromine and iodine, they have the availability of d orbitals. Okay, so but in them also there is no such in molecular state there is no d orbitals are involved. Okay, so you can say that in case of fluorine, due to the lone pair repulsion, Despite being a smaller bond length, the bond is weak and can be easily broken. Now, fluorine is also the most powerful oxidizing agent. Fluorine got the smallest atomic size, it got the highest electronegativity. Fluorine bond dissociation energy is very low. Fluorine atom can accept electron readily to form fluoride ion. So it got the highest value of E naught. You can say that E naught of fluorine to fluoride, it is the second best value after permanganate ion. So among element, it got the highest value. I am repeating once more, fluorine is the strongest oxidizing agent among the elements. The only anion that is bigger than that value is the permanganate ion. That is the permanganate ion. Only the permanganate ion got the highest electroreduction potential value than that of the fluorine. Okay, but still permanganates are rare, very rare elements, or you can say very rare compounds. Okay, so in general we can say that fluorine is the best oxidizing agent. Now, why there is so much anomalous behavior shown by the fluorine? Okay, the anomalous behavior shown by the fluorine is due to the following reasons. Number one, it got the smallest atomic size, it got the highest electronegativity. Okay, despite being a very short bond, small bond, the weak fluorine bond is due to the lone pair repulsion. So bond dissociation enthalpy is very low, non-availability of d orbitals, and very strong oxidizing nature. It got the highest value of standard reduction potential. Now the redox properties of the element, it depends upon three factors. What are those factors? Enthalpy of atomization, electron gain enthalpy, and hydration enthalpy. Now what are the steps involved? The steps involved like that. Let us suppose A and A are halogens. The first will be the breaking of the bond. So what will happen? You have formation of atoms. Then that atom will accept an electron and becomes a gaseous anion. Then this gaseous anion will undergo hydration to give you aqueous anion. Yes or no? So it got three values to. So combination of these three factors will determine the oxidizing behavior or the redox or the EMF value of the various ions. First step is what? Enthalpy of atomization, that you have to break the bond and individual atom has to be formed. Second will be the electron gain enthalpy values. Third will be the after the formation of the anion, that anion will undergo hydration. Okay, and due to the hydration, heat is released. So only in the first case, the first step is energy consuming, the second and third steps are energy releasing steps. So these three factors together, they will decide the redox properties or the oxidizing nature of the various elements, and most probably in case of halogens. Why? Because we are discussing halogens. The most important property of what? The most important property of, or you can say characteristic property of halogens is their redox properties. The chemical feature of the halogen is their oxidizing strength. Fluorine has the strongest oxidizing ability, so that a simple chemical preparation is almost impossible and it must be prepared by electrolysis. So you can say that the only method to obtain fluorine from its compound is to perform an electrolysis. Only electricity can cause the chemical change in that. Not that, since fluorine react explosively with water, oxidizing the dioxygen in it. Okay, so it means that if you put fluorine in water, it will take out electron out of the oxide anion. That is the oxygen of the water. Finding reaction conditions for each reaction can be difficult. When fluorine is combining with other elements, they generally exhibit a higher oxidation state. Chlorine is the next strongest oxidizing agent, but it can be prepared by chemical oxidation also. Okay. The energy changes in the redox reactions are of these three: enthalpy of atomization, enthalpy of electron gain, and enthalpy of hydration. Atomization of the dihalide is the energy required to break the molecule into atoms. So you have to convert molecule into atom. I am reading to note that only fluorine and chlorine are gases in their natural state. So the energy associated with the atomization of bromine and require enthalpy of vaporization and enthalpy of sublimation also. That's why both bromine and iodine, they have high heat of atomization, because iodine exists as a solid while bromine exists as a liquid at room temperature. So what has happened? So if you want to convert atoms of iodine or atoms of bromine, then you have to first perform some physical changes. That iodine should be transformed into vapor state. How it can be possible? The answer is by enthalpy of sublimation. And since bromine exists as a liquid, so you have to form it vapors. So enthalpy of evaporation is required. So you can say that enthalpy of atomization is very high in case of bromine and iodine, but it's very less in case of chlorine and fluorine. The reason being that in both of them exist as gases. So you no need of enthalpy of evaporation or enthalpy of, you can say, sublimation is required in them. So it means in case of fluorine and chlorine, the energy required in the first step is very, very less. The next two steps are the energy releasing steps. Now the electron, EA stand for electron affinity, or you can say electron gain enthalpy, is the energy liberated when atom is converted to a negative ion. So atom converted to negative ion, heat is being released. The addition of an electron to the smaller fluorine atom is accompanied by a large electron repulsion then found in the large chlorine, bromine and iodine. This would suggest that process of fluorine should be less exothermic than, but cannot show a general decreasing towards the group. Although it is written there, but in my sense, the only difference between the electron gain enthalpy of chlorine and fluorine is only 20 kilojoule. In case of fluorine, the value is minus 330 kilojoule per mole, and in case of chlorine, the value is 350 kilojoule per mole. So these two values are very high. Although chlorine got little bit higher value, but that little bit higher value does not, you can say, very strong difference given to the whole process. And the last step being what? The last step being the enthalpy of hydration. Enthalpy of the hydration, that once the anion is formed, it react, or you can say it interact with the water, and you have an aqueous anion formation will happen. Now you can see in the table given to you in the bottom, what you can observe, enthalpy of atomization of all these four elements are given to you. You can say that in case of chlorine, despite being gaseous state, it got the highest value of atomization. Now look at these two values. The only difference between them will be only 15 kilojoule. So less difference between them. But look at these values, heat of hydration values. Huge difference of minus 140. So that's why the overall enthalpy changes are favorable in case of fluorine. So overall fluorine got the largest value of, you can say, Gibbs energy. So that's why the reaction is more favorable here. Okay, sure about that or not? The next important thing we discuss about is about the color shown by the various halogens. All halogens are colored. The color depends with the rise of the atomic number from fluorine to iodine. So look at that. In case of fluorine, it is light yellow. In case of chlorine, it is greenish yellow. In case of bromine, it is reddish brown. In case of iodine, it is deep violet in color. So as we move down the group, the color become more and more intense. Okay, the color is due to the absorption of the energy from the visible light by the molecules. The valence electrons excited to the higher energy level and the conjugate color is being seen. The origin of the color of the halogen stems from their excitation between the highest occupied antibonding molecular orbital and lowest unoccupied sigma antibonding orbitals. That in case of halogen, the electron get excited from the occupied pi antibonding molecular orbital, and these excited electron goes to the lowest unoccupied sigma antibonding molecular orbitals. So you can say that electron get excited from pi antibonding to the sigma antibonding in the case of halogens. The energy gap between the highest occupied molecular orbital and the lowest unoccupied molecular orbital decreases according to fluorine, chlorine, bromine, and iodine. It means as you move down the group, the energy gap decreases. The amount of energy required for excitation depends upon the size of the atom. Fluorine is the smallest element in the group, and the force of attraction between the nucleus and outermost is very large. So when the fluorine got the smallest size means its electrons are nearest to the nucleus. So they got highest attraction for nucleus. As a result, fluorine require a very large excitation energy, and it absorbs a high energy violet light. So it appears pale yellow. On the other hand, the iodine needs sufficient very less energy and absorbs yellow light. So it gives the complementary reddish brown color. You can see that here the electron goes, but one of the electron goes from this to this orbital. So this highest occupied molecular orbital goes toward lowest unoccupied molecular orbital. That is called homolume. Okay? The halogen shows a variety of colors when dissolved in different solvents. So it depends upon nature of solvent also. Solution of iodine can be bright violet in CCl4, but pink or red brown in aromatic hydrocarbons, and deep brown in alcohols. And repeating once more, iodine got violet color in CCl4, a pink or reddish brown in benzene, and deep brown in various alcohols. This can be explained by weak donor-acceptor interaction and the complex formation. The presence of charge transfer bands further support this, since they are thought to be derived from interaction from highest occupied molecular orbital. That is, after the excitation they go to the high energy level, and when they come back to the ground state also. But remember that the energy that is required to fill the electron, the complementary color is shown by the given compound or molecule.